think one of the biggest questions that we have to answer first is who were the sons of Elohim, or who were the sons of God, as is put in a lot of Bible translations. Were they sons of Seth, or were they angels? And I think we'll answer that tonight. So from Genesis 6, 1 through 4, it says, "And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of Elohim saw the daughters of men, that they were fair. And they took them wives of all which they chose. And then Yahweh said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he is also flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of Elohim came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown." Now that passage, it says a lot of things, and
Yep.
There's a lot of theories about who the sons of Elohim may have been, and one of the popular theories is the Sethite theory. Many seminaries teach that it was the good sons of Seth that married the bad daughters of Cain. They say the union of these two groups of people produced the giants, or large men, that we read about in that account, and others. This view also tends to negate the stature of the giants by claiming that the average man was a lot shorter, quote unquote, in those days. So therefore, a 6 or 7 foot person would have seemed like a giant to them. And it's my opinion that this teaching isn't biblical. You know,
I
um,
totally agree.
I'll cover that on the next slide. So, Rob Skiba always asks the question, why did the good sons do the bad thing? That's just one question to ask. But let's take a look at the angel theory.
Hold on for you.
How about,
For you. Hold on, brother. Can you go back to that last slide? I want to share something
absolutely.
that I read a couple of days ago. So in preparing for this show, I read Skiba's Nephilim book, and then I'm preparing for the next show, which I will have Josh on again, and we're going to talk about Babylon. So we're going to talk a lot about Nimrod. So that's a good follow up show to this one. But so I'm reading Babylon Rising now, and he's got a chat. It's actually I think it's the first chapter in Babylon Rising called the Genesis 6 experiment. So he's talking about the Nephilim, and he's got something about the sons of Seth theory. So let me read off of page 23 real quick if anybody wants to reference that later. Quote, "The Sethite theory, or the lines of the Seth theory, as Minister Forston calls it, is a relatively new idea. Few, if any, believed in it prior to the 3rd century AD." And then he has number 6 footnote, and I'm going to read some of that real quick, and it's pretty enlightening. Prior to this is the number 6 footnote right here on page 23. Prior to the 3rd century, going all the way back to the days of Noah, the belief was that the sons of Elohim were angels. Dr. Chuck Missler notes in an article titled "Mischievous Angels or Sethites" that the Sethite theory really originated with Julius Africanus. From there, it was embraced by Cyril of Alexandria and Augustine. Today it is the prevailing view taught in seminaries and churches. So I think that's a good point that we must consider when it comes to the Sethite theory. All right, brother, go ahead.
I agree and that's a tough one to overcome when that's what most pastors are being taught, and they're for teaching their congregations. It's a tough one, and it kind of makes other parts of the Bible hard to understand.
Yep, and we're going to get
We'll
into
get
that
into that.
later.
Yes. The angel theory is what I believe is the more direct approach to Scripture. This theory says that the sons of Elohim were angels that took on flesh and took human wives as they desired. And the result of that union were the Nephilim, or giants. And I always like to have Scripture to be able to back up my opinions and the way I interpret Scripture. So is there Scripture to support it? I believe there is.
I want to say there's
Job lends
lots.
us. Oh yeah, there's tons. Job lends us 3 that are rock solid. Job 1:6 says, "Now there was a day when the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Yahweh, and Satan came also among them. Job 2:1. Again, there was a day when the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Yahweh, and Satan came also among them to present himself. And then Job 38:6-7. Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened, or who laid the cornerstone thereof? When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of Elohim shouted for joy.
And that's the exact same phrase. Are you going to go into it?
Yes.
Not going to steal your thunder.
Oh, you're good. That phrase, sons of Elohim, is B'nai Ha Elohim in Hebrew. And it means sons of Elohim. So the phrase B'nai Ha Elohim is used in the Genesis 6 passage and in the Job passages. So Genesis is talking about the same thing Job's talking about. And unless the sons of Seth were around at the laying of the foundations of the earth, I think we're safe saying that the sons of Elohim in Genesis were indeed angels. But you don't have to take just those passages or my word for it, because we can look to extra biblical sources as well that are mentioned in Scripture, quoted in Scripture, and they just come right out and say it. In Enoch 6:1-4, I won't read every word of this for the sake of time, but if you skip to the second sentence.
Go ahead. We're good.
Okay.
Read the whole thing.
And it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men, and beget us children. And Semyaza, who is their leader, said unto them, I fear you will not indeed agree to do this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. And they all answered him and said, Let us swear an oath, and all bind ourselves by mutual imprecations, not to abandon this plan, but to do this thing. This passage just comes right out and says, angels, the children of heaven. And then Jubilees 5:1. It states, And it came to pass when the children of men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the angels of Elohim saw them on a certain year of this Jubilee, that they were beautiful to look upon, and they took themselves wives of all whom they chose, and they bare unto them sons, and they were giants.
Do you want me to read 2-5 since you don't have it in your slides?
Go ahead, yes.
Since we discussed that, I think, earlier today. And this will make sense later in the stream.
Yes.
So this is verse 2-5 in the same chapter, Jubilees 5. And lawlessness increased on the earth, and all flesh corrupted its way alike, just like we talked about in Genesis 6. Men and cattle and beasts and birds and all that walks on the earth, all of them corrupted their ways and their orders, and they began to devour each other. And lawlessness increased on the earth, and every imagination of the thoughts of men was only evil continually. And Elohim looked upon the earth, and see, it was corrupt, and all flesh had corrupted its orders. And all that were upon the earth had wrought all kinds of evil before his eyes. And he said, I shall destroy man and all flesh upon the face of the earth, which I have created. But Noah found favor before the eyes of Yahweh.